Good afternoon, everyone. Sumit on this side from the little Himalayan village that I live in. This is the fourth video in our series, and today we are going to do some hands-on work. We are going to prompt AI to help us understand what is the tech stack to use for this product. I'm still building that same product, by the way. So just to reiterate, this product is about browsing some of the data that you can publicly find through APIs or just downloaded dumps. Download them, browse them locally on your own web browser. So what we are tackling right now in the beginning is Hacker News data. Hacker News has this lovely API, so you can simply go to Hacker News. You can just search for Hacker News API, and you'll get their official API. This is hosted on Firebase. Firebase is a provider, is a technology from Google, which allows you to basically build like backends. Think of like you don't have to write the backend code, but somehow describe it. I've never used it, honestly. I don't know so much about it, but yeah, the data then goes to Firebase from Hacker News, I'm guessing, and then it's available through Firebase's own API system. And you can browse through the data, you can download it. The only thing is that you have to download one item at a time. So all of the data on Hacker News, this API is an item. Let's say an item. I think they call it an item. Yeah, and then an item could be story. Stories are when you go to Hacker News. Let's open Hacker News if you have not seen it. When you go to Hacker News, this is a very popular place for, by the way, just like lots of commentaries. People share posts as they come from different parts of the web. Mostly focuses on product, startups, technology, etc., etc. So it's a really cool place if you are new to like technology, also like vibe coding, and want to kind of just get a hang of like what is happening in the industry. There's a good place for that, similar to like Product Hunt, but a little more technical, I would say. And I find the comments in on Hacker News second to none. Like it's really high quality. There are a lot of really high caliber people talking about the subject that is being posted. So yeah, that's Hacker News. That's the API. Like I said, so within the API you can query for the last ID that is there, and then you can simply start fetching from that ID all the way back to however much you want. So we are going to do the whole 44-ish million of them at some point, but yeah, we're not talking about downloading right now. We are talking about building the app. So we already prompted it. If you have not watched, I believe, the second video, then please go ahead and watch it, where we created just this small 2-3 line description, and we got a product. Let's look at it. I believe I can show it to you right now. So if I do Claude, yeah, okay, it's already there. So please create an app which allows me to browse Hacker News data from the Hacker News API on my computer. The app should be available through my browser on my computer. There should be a downloader with status for all Hacker News items. Please use ShadCN UI components. So how did I get to know ShadCN? Well, I honestly didn't know about it really like till fairly recently. Like I've heard of it, but I've never really used it. But I was like, okay, if I want to vibe code, I want to have good UI components. So I just searched for a bit and I found this. So if you search ShadCN, you will see that it's a UI components library. So by components, you just go to components. You understand that these are the small things that you get. So for example, an alert, right? So how does alert look like? Then you maybe go to, I don't know, button. So how does a button look like? You go to maybe dialog. How does, this is like opens a dialog box. How does that look like? And so on and so forth. So it has these set of components, which means that it makes my life easy, to not having to reinvent these things. Also, the styling is really nice, polished, etc. So I don't have to think about those things, particularly when in the early stage I want to just focus on the actual user flow. Like, what is this application that I'm building? What is this focused on? Well, the problem that I'm trying to solve is that I want to browse a bunch of openly available data on my computer, not have to go to the website or somewhere else, and I could do a lot of search on top. I could do maybe even some advanced analytics and querying on top of that later on. So I could find like, hey, what is the weather data, and then correlate that to, I don't know, some geographic data which is also available from say some open government data. And these are a lot of that data is available, but we are going to focus on easy things first, right? So we are going to start with Hacker News, then we are going to add maybe Reddit, because Reddit has an API. Reddit API will need authentication. Hacker News does not need authentication, so we are going to start with Hacker News. But then, yeah, please feel free to suggest what else we could add. But today what we're going to do is we're going to look at a structured way, like how, if let's say I'm doing vibe coding, we did the one shot, like very small prompt, but let's try doing a little more, like going a little more organized, because what I want to do is, like I said, the whole idea of this series is to be able to build production software. So I want to think a few things, in advance. Like, I want an installer, so this app should be installable on a user's computer, and they should have one of these downloadable installers, like for Windows, for Mac OS, etc. So you have an exe or DMG or app image, or for Linux you have the Debian images, or whatever else is needed for different operating systems. So what I did was, I asked the same question, and this is the question I asked. I asked the same question to Claude, I asked the same question to Perplexity, and I'm just getting a hang of like what are the suggestions. So what I asked was, I want to build a desktop application that allows user to download data from public APIs and browse them on their computer. The UI should open in user's already installed browser of choice. This is a hard requirement for me. I don't want like Electron apps. If you have used Spotify app and a few other apps which are like Electron apps, Electron is a technology which basically bundles the browser, so it downloads another browser, generally Chromium. It is Chromium actually, and it allows you to run web applications inside the browser, but you're adding to the download simply because you're downloading another browser when you're actually downloading Spotify. So what I want to download is just this application, the Hacker News browser, downloader, management of data, etc. I don't want to download another browser. I already have a browser. Most people have a browser, so why should I download that? So it suggested Electron, and this is interesting. This is a very key sign of where AI, sometimes does not really listen to what you're saying. I clearly have mentioned that the UI should open in the user's already existing browser, and I know from my experience that Electron does not do that. So Electron, it says, is your best choice. It packages a web application with Node.js and Chromium. When it says Chromium, it does not mean that you have, by the way, Chromium is the open source Google Chrome, like the open source, the main project, which is the browser, and then Google Chrome is like, you could say, a modified version of Chromium. Like, Google then adds a lot of Google-ish features, native Google features, and I'm guessing also some extra tooling around Google Chrome to make Google Chrome. And Chromium is the more raw open source version of it. So now it says all of these things are great. I like what it suggests. And then the backend layer, it says I could build with Node.js or with Express. Express is a framework. Again, if you don't know any of these things, like we have discussed, you can simply start asking and you'll see. So I liked these, but then I said, will this use the installed browser of the user or download a separate one? And then it figures out, yeah. So Electron downloads and bundles its own browser engine, which is what I don't want. And then it says, okay, here is what actually happens, Electron reality, and then blah blah blah. It gives, so if you want to use the user's actual browser, this is what I want, right? So then it gives me options. Okay, local web server approach. So build an HTTP server, so a web server in this case, and run it as a background service. So run it somehow. I don't even know. I don't care what is a background service. We'll get to it. Um, and then automatically opens the user's default browser. This is what I want. So if you have Firefox, if you have Chrome, if you have Brave, I don't know, whatever else you have installed, it should open there. The front end, the UI should open there. It gives me suggested technologies, like what can I use to do this. And it says that the download footprint will be smaller. This is what I want also. This is like an added advantage I get. And then it says progressive web apps and everything else. But I really like this approach after reading all of these. By the way, the reason I'm showing this is this communication, this conversation with AI. In my case, my technology stack, like as an engineer, is already settled. I would have used TypeScript, React, or SolidJS, or something else in the front end, and I would use Rust in the back end. But for this, because we are vibe coding together, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk to AI, figure out what it suggests, and then maybe add a little bit of my color, ask, and then pick something which you can also follow along and create the same. So then I asked, I want to use the local web server approach. I like that approach. What languages have great support for installer? So I need the whole thing to be installable, like download Windows installers, Mac OS installers, etc. And it says Go. so Go is the number one recommendation, Rust is the number two. I usually prefer Rust, but for this, and this is why this, this video series is also interesting, because I'm trying my best to remove some of the biases I already have. So I have my choice Rust, but I'm not going to use this. I'm going to go with Go, because according to this, Go is perhaps the best. It has, like it says, industry standard, like it is like literally the industry standard for creating installers across all platforms. I like that, and let's just go with it. So now what is the next step? So now that we have decided on the technology stack, on the front end we're going to choose React application. We can also ask further that, okay, so let's say I would use Go for the UI. Let's see, what had it, what were the suggestions already? Database, front end, okay, React, Vue, Vanilla JS. I'm going to choose React. I would like to go with React. I guess then I don't need to ask anything, like I don't need to, let's just start the project. I think so. We had already started the project with that one shot. The thing is that didn't have this consideration, this thinking that I want an installer, I want the backend to store the data separately, because of course now we are talking about expanding this project. Is not going to be like downloading all that data into your browser. That first project, as if you recall, let's run that. So there is this folder, and then let's go into it, and then we are going to run it. So I guess npm run dev, I think. By the way, some of these commands, depending on the project, they might look confusing or you might not know, but that's okay, don't worry. We can always ask AI to simply give us a documentation per project, and then we'll be able to better understand how to run a project. But you'll still need the basic ideas, by the way, so please do not ignore those. Again, when you hit a roadblock, just make sure that you're asking AI. All of these things are so well known, like just generally available for most AI agents. They'll be able to happily help you out. So be it Perplexity, whatever tool you're using, Gemini, you can ask Gemini, you can ask Perplexity, even Meta AI. I've never used Meta AI, by the way, but yeah, I'm sure it can answer all of these things. So this was the UI. This was great. I could already see my download data. It already shows that I have already 500 downloaded. Where have they been downloaded? I have no clue. I'm guessing it's in the browser. I think we looked at it in the source code the last time, and it was in the browser. This time we are trying to avoid also looking into the source code. Sometimes we may need to, but we'll get to it. So the UI looked cool, and it had stories, and stories had even pagination, and then I had comments, and then obviously then comments would also have pagination, and yeah, they do. Cool. What I want is a more story based view. So each story and their comments, each story in their comments. I am not sure it is doing this in this UI, because I cannot seem to be able to click on this. It, interestingly enough, it extracts points and comments, number of comments, into nice these bubbles or tags, however you call them, labels maybe, yeah, and that's cool. 0 prints out as 0. That's a bit weird. I don't know what this 0 is for, but anyway, that's okay. We're going to ignore that for now. But yeah, this is all cool. But we want this similar app, but now we want Hacker News to be only one of the data sources, right? We're going to start off with it, but it's going to be only one of the data sources. It's going to be the first one we're going to start with. So let's structure the project. How do I structure the project? I use GitHub. For everything to structure the project, I use GitHub. I have, so through the GitHub command line tool, Claude Code can have access to GitHub, and it can create issues. Issues are like tickets. We create the tickets here, and then we can go ticket by ticket to ask Claude to, hey, implement this. So let's try doing that. First of all, I want to delete whatever I have created till now. So I will go ahead and let us see. rm minus rf is just deleting this folder, nothing else. I'm just removing the existing folder. I will see if, so I will simply clone this repository, Again, some of these terminologies may not be known to you. It may be like, oh wow, that's a lot of things happening. Do not worry. We will, as we come across these terms, I'm trying to also create a documentation where you can easily search for these terms on the web, just to kind of repeating, and the more you repeat, the more you'll remember. Don't worry about these things, just get started. If you get stuck, you can always ask me on any of the networks that I've already mentioned, but also you can ask AI, and you'll be able to get through it. So we now have this. What I'll do is I'll immediately run Claude. Sorry, where did I get out? Pub data hub, and then I'll run Claude. Now Claude has not been initialized in this repository, so I will init. So I'll say, let us see what init does. So init creates a claude.md file. I'm not even sure what it will do, because this project is basically blank. It has a readme. Let us see. It's trying to search everything in my folder. It finds nothing because, well, it is a blank folder. Okay, so claude.md will be this file, provides guidance to Claude Code. Great. Okay, what is the project overview? Is tool to find. So it read the readme file, as you can see. This was the readme file. Find, download, and browse publicly available data, blah blah blah. It got that, and it's almost like it copy pasted it, which is great. Project status, this is only a new initialized repository with minimal structure, only contains this, no files, nothing. So it has not mentioned anything about technology. I think that's good enough. Let's just go with it, just to get into the hang of like us, doing something with Claude, pushing. By the way, today I'm going to use Claude, tomorrow maybe something else. We are going to come to different tools. You'll see the patterns are not that different. The main difference is that when you're using Claude Code, of course, your file, the main file which gives instructions to Claude Code, will be called claude.md. For Gemini CLI, it will be gemini.md, and so on. I'm really interested to try out this new model that has just launched. It came on Hacker News today. I saw it on Hacker News. It's Quen. Quen is from Alibaba Cloud, and yeah, it seems to be doing really well. Quen 3 Coder. This is the code specific model, and I have not yet run this. I've not yet tried it, but yeah, at some point I want to, maybe in the duration of this video series itself. Okay, so we got this. If we do git status, again, you don't need to know all of these things right away, but just feel free to follow along if you want to. Otherwise, you'll be seeing these commands and again, and then, like I said, you can search about them online, you can install them however you wish to, but it's not mandatory to have to start with Git. I'm going to also show you a way to not do with Git, and also a way to do it with Git. So if you don't want Git, you can simply ask Claude to keep all the files locally and create the issues also locally as different markdown files. So you can ask it to create an issues folder, and remember, whenever you're giving instructions like these, make sure that you're asking Claude, keep this in your Claude MD file, that we have an issues folder. The moment you do that, Claude will record that in the Claude.md file, and it will refer to it in future. So for now, what I'm going to do is I saw this is great. It has a Claude.md file. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the same prompt. Okay. I'm going to paste it here. I want to use Go for the backend and React for the UI. Please create tickets on GitHub to initialize this project with backend and UI. Also create tickets to automatically generate installers using GitHub Actions. I'll tell you what GitHub Actions is. So GitHub Actions, Actions is a way to run automated let's say scripts on GitHub's infrastructure. This is not just only for GitHub. This is also for this is there for GitLab and many other such code hosting places. So these places, they host code, which means they can run scripts on the code. In this case, what I want to run is basically the creation of the installer. So I don't have a Mac OS, I don't have Windows, I have only Linux, but I can create the installers for Windows, Mac OS, whatever else, from on top of GitHub's infrastructure. And GitHub for open source projects, I think, has a very generous free tier, and this is what I want to use. I don't want to have a separate machine. By the way, it is going to create all these issues, and I'm going to give it permission to keep creating while I explain to you. So yeah, so let's also browse GitHub. But like I was saying, so I first create the tickets, and this is important. So now you start seeing the issues are coming here. So these are being created by Claude Code. I'm not creating them. Let's look into it. So this is for the Go backend. Great, whatever it understood, I don't honestly know. I'm not looking into the details, but we'll look into the details maybe the next video. But this video, I'm going to focus on this, the structuring. Let it finish, and then we'll come back in the next video and look further into what it has created. Does it look plausible, like sensible, etc.? And then we'll simply start building on it. Why I, again, going back to the actions, these actions will be important for multiple things. One will be to create these releases, like the installers, etc., which you may not have access to different machines. It will have on GitHub Cloud access to all of these machines and be able to create them. Second is, we also want to run automated tests. This is part of this whole umbrella of terms called continuous integration and continuous deployment. Basically, how do you work in a large team where there are multiple developers, and each developer is working on different things, and they submit their code, their changes, and then how do you check, how do you build, how do you run things against existing code? Basically, what you want to do is that adding new features should not break, or bug fixing something should not break existing code, already existing code, right? And this is kind of a process, of philosophy and a process, I would say, an idea and a process to do things on the cloud. And the GitHub way of doing it, also the GitLab way, and there are many other companies doing the same thing. They're very matured ways. So all the AI code generation tools, they pretty much understand what to generate, and you will see what it has generated. I'll show it to you. So if you go to now Pub Data Hub, if you go to the issues, you'll see that it says that setup actions pipeline. So this is what will set up this folder. There'll be a .github, and this is important. There's a .github/workflows folder which will have these files, which are YAML files. YAMLs are basically just like text-like configuration files, and that should run. In my case, what I'm interested in is it should run the installers, the release, right? Okay, that's called release. So basically that's just the installers, but it's actually also like you're releasing a version of your software. And as I build, I will release in a while, maybe every week or whatever, so, or every major chunk of work being done. That is automated now. So we'll see how much such automation, and all of this automation is very critical, because you don't want to be in a place where you're missing important checks. The more checks are being done automatically, the better it is. Some of those checks can run on your computer, some of them can run on the cloud, and we will use as much of these automations as possible to make our lives easy. So this was the first step this is the first video where we are doing a structured approach to building. We got 6 tickets. We'll tackle them in the next video, but thanks for watching this one, and then we'll meet again in just a few hours.